Hello everyone, and welcome to my Sister Wives Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. When it comes to the world of sister wives, few moments have been as highly anticipated, speculated about, and emotionally charged as the very first face-to-face meeting between Kody Brown and his ex-wife Christine Brown after their divorce. Their split marked one of the most pivotal turning points in the history of the TLC series, not just because it officially signaled the unraveling of the plural marriage family they once proudly displayed, but also because it represented something deeper, a clash of values, expectations, and emotional realities that had been simmering for years. Fans who have followed their journey from the beginning knew that this reunion was never going to be smooth sailing. It was bound to be awkward, tense, and layered with years of hurt, resentment, and unspoken truths. To fully understand why their meeting played out the way it did, one has to retrace the complicated path that led them here, and then closely analyze the subtle gestures, biting words, and long silences that define the moment when Christine and Kody sat across from each other for the first time since calling it quits. Christine and Kody's marriage had long been one of the more complex dynamics in the Brown family. From the very beginning, Christine had entered the relationship with a deep belief in the principles of plural marriage, even describing herself as a true believer in the lifestyle. She valued sisterhood, companionship, and the large family model, but over time, the cracks began to show. While Christine initially appeared content in her role as the third wife, it became increasingly clear over the years that she often felt like she was on the sidelines in her marriage. Kody's attention was divided among four women: Mary, Janelle, Christine, and later Robin. And yet Christine often seemed to struggle with feeling validated, loved, and prioritized. Tensions became especially visible when Robin joined the family, and Christine admitted that her insecurities grew as she watched Kody devote more time and energy toward his youngest wife. For Christine, who had always craved reassurance and affection, this lack of connection began to fester into bitterness. By the time the family relocated to Flagstaff, Arizona, the distance between Christine and Kody was no longer just emotional, it was physical. She was often seen in confessionals explaining how Kody had stopped being intimate with her, a devastating blow that shattered her sense of self-worth and her understanding of their marital covenant. In one of the most unforgettable moments, Christine revealed that Kody had bluntly told her he was no longer attracted to her. For Christine, this was not only humiliating but also clarifying. It gave her the courage to realize that she did not want to spend the rest of her life begging for crumbs of affection. Instead, she chose to take the bold step of leaving the plural marriage altogether, a decision that sent shockwaves through the family and the audience alike. So when the cameras captured Kody and Christine's first meeting since the divorce, the stakes were already sky-high. Both of them came into the room with their guards up, though for very different reasons. Christine entered with a sense of empowerment, determination, and perhaps a tinge of nervousness. She had finally built a life for herself outside the shadows of polygamy, and yet she knew that sitting across from Kody meant revisiting years of pain. For Kody, the meeting was even more complicated. He has always been a man who values control, over his family, over his household dynamics, and even over the narrative presented to the outside world. Sitting down with Christine meant confronting his failure, both as a husband and as the leader of his once proud plural family. The first moments of their interaction were drenched in awkward politeness. Christine smiled, though it was tight, almost forced, as if she were bracing herself for impact. Kody leaned back in his chair, arms crossed defensively, a clear sign of discomfort. His body language screamed resistance. He didn't want to be there, but he also couldn't avoid it. There was too much at stake. Conversations about co-parenting their children, especially Truly, who still needed both of her parents to navigate the fallout of the divorce, and lingering financial matters tied to Coyote Pass and other family obligations. Christine was the first to speak. Her tone was measured, calm, almost unnervingly steady. She began by emphasizing that her priority was Truly's well-being, and ensuring that their daughter continued to feel supported and loved by both parents. She stressed that she wanted to establish a healthy co-parenting relationship, one that was free of tension and bitterness. But the way she phrased her words, careful, deliberate, made it clear that she was also drawing boundaries. This was not the Christine of years past. the one who would shrink back or remain quiet to keep the peace. This was a Christine who had found her voice. Kody, on the other hand, struggled to hide his emotions. His replies came out sharp, his voice tinged with frustration. He accused Christine of undermining him, of turning the children against him, and of disrespecting his authority as their father. It was clear that while Christine saw the divorce as a liberation, Kody saw it as an act of betrayal. His ego was bruised, and his words reflected his wounded pride more than a genuine desire to collaborate. Fans watching the scene noted how quickly Kody shifted the conversation back to himself. His feelings, his sacrifices, his version of events, while Christine consistently redirected the focus toward Truly and the children. The tension reached its peak when the subject of intimacy arose. Christine, in one of her boldest moments, addressed the way Kody had withheld affection from her, and essentially ended their physical relationship long before the divorce papers were ever drawn up. She asked him point-blank if he thought it was fair to expect her to remain in a loveless, intimacy-free marriage while he continued to enjoy closeness with his other wives. Kody's reaction was explosive. His voice rose, his words tumbled out faster, and his frustration was palpable. He insisted that intimacy was about more than just physical connection, that it required respect, trust, and admiration, all of which he claimed had eroded because of Christine's actions and attitudes. But Christine wasn't backing down. She looked him straight in the eye and declared that she deserved love, passion, and partnership, not a half-hearted, one-sided arrangement. Her words hung in the air like a challenge, and for a moment, Kody had no retort. His silence said more than his anger ever could. He knew deep down that Christine was right, that he had failed to nurture their marriage, and that he could no longer control her. Beyond the heated exchanges, there were also moments of chilling quiet. Long pauses where neither seemed willing to speak, their eyes darting away from one another, the weight of their shared history pressing down like a stone. These silences revealed just how broken their connection had become. There was no warmth, no flicker of the bond they once shared. Instead, there was only the uncomfortable reality of two people who had once built a life together now reduced to negotiating logistics like strangers. Perhaps the most telling part of the meeting, however, was what it revealed about their futures. Christine walked away from the conversation with a sense of closure. She had said what she needed to say, stood her ground, and refused to let Kody's anger diminish her resolve. In many ways, the tense meeting was the final nail in the coffin of their marriage, not just legally, but emotionally. It freed Christine to move forward fully, to embrace her new life in Utah with her children, and her newfound independence. For Kody, though, the meeting seemed to cement his bitterness. Rather than seeking reconciliation or understanding, he doubled down on his narrative of being wronged, betrayed, and disrespected. It was a sobering reminder of why their marriage had failed in the first place. Kody's inability to self-reflect, to admit fault, or to validate Christine's feelings left him stuck in a cycle of blame and resentment. From a broader perspective, their meeting also reflected the changing dynamics of the entire Brown family. With Christine gone, the once united front of the plural household was shattered. Janelle, who had long been one of Christine's closest allies, seemed to grow more distant from Kody as well. Mary remained on the periphery, still grappling with her own estrangement from Kody, while Robin clung tightly to him, now more than ever. Fans speculated that Kody's defensiveness toward Christine was also fueled by his fear of losing control over the rest of the family, as if Christine's independence might inspire the other wives to follow suit. In the end, the tense first meeting between Kody and Christine was about more than just two exes hashing out their differences. It was a cultural moment in Sister Wives, a confrontation that symbolized the collapse of a dream and the messy aftermath of a lifestyle built on fragile foundations. Christine emerged as the victor, not because she won an argument, but because she stood firm in her truth, embraced her worth, and refused to let Kody's narrative define her. And Kody? He walked away a man still clinging to the shards of a broken family, unable to recognize that the person he once dismissed as disloyal had simply found the strength to choose herself. For viewers, this meeting was as heartbreaking as it was empowering. It reminded everyone that divorce, even in the most unconventional circumstances, is never just the end of a relationship. It is the beginning of a new chapter. Christine's chapter looks brighter, bolder, and freer than ever. Kody's chapter, on the other hand, remains clouded with denial and bitterness. And in that contrast lies the true story of their tense first meeting since the divorce. A clash not only of personalities, but of two completely different paths forward.